You handle the drop.
All your money in the bag.
Do you know what you're doing? Do you know whose money you're jacking?
You don't see anything?
Nah, that's this neighborhood, right?
We had a crew back in the day.
There are some films that don't rely on spectacle, explosions, or fast pacing to pull you in, but instead move with a quiet intensity, slowly tightening their grip until you realize you've been completely absorbed. The Drop, 2014, is exactly that kind of film. It doesn't shout for your attention, it earns it, moment by moment, through atmosphere, character depth, and a lingering sense of unease that never quite lets go. Set in the worn-down neighborhoods of Brooklyn, the story unfolds in a world that feels lived in, where every bar, every street corner, and every conversation carries weight. This isn't just a crime story, it's a study of loneliness, morality, and the hidden darkness that can exist beneath the most ordinary surfaces. At the center of this narrative is Bob Saginowski, a man who, at first glance, seems almost invisible. He's quiet, reserved, and carries himself with a kind of emotional distance that makes it hard to read what he's thinking. Bob works as a bartender in a local bar that doubles as a drop bar, a place where organized crime funnels money through in a system designed to keep the cash flow discreet and untraceable. It's a dangerous business, but it operates with a kind of routine normalcy that makes it feel almost mundane. For Bob, this life is not glamorous, it's just something he exists within, like a current he doesn't try to fight. The bar itself is owned by Marv, Bob's cousin, a man who once had power and influence, but now lives in the shadow of his former self. Marv clings to the past, constantly reminding anyone who will listen that the bar used to be his before it was taken over by Chechen gangsters. There's a bitterness in him, a sense of loss that seeps into everything he says and does. Where Bob is quiet and introspective, Marv is restless, almost desperate, as if he's trying to reclaim something that's already gone. Their dynamic is subtle but important. Two men bound by family and circumstance, yet fundamentally different in how they navigate the world. What makes the story so compelling is how it builds tension without rushing. Early on, the routine of the bar and the concept of money drops are introduced in a way that feels almost procedural. Cash is delivered, counted, and moved along, and everyone involved understands the stakes. There's an unspoken rule: you don't ask questions, and you don't make mistakes. But of course, in a world like this, mistakes are inevitable, and when they happen, the consequences ripple outward in ways no one can fully control. The turning point comes with a robbery, seemingly simple on the surface, but loaded with implications. The bar is hit, and the money meant for the drop is stolen. It's not just about the cash, it's about what the loss represents. In this world, money isn't just currency, it's power, trust, and survival. Losing it isn't an option, and whoever's responsible will have to answer for it. The robbery sets off a chain reaction, pulling Bob deeper into a situation he can't easily escape. At the same time, the film introduces a quieter, more personal thread through Bob's life. One night, while walking home, he discovers a beaten and abandoned puppy in a trash can. It's a small moment, almost easy to overlook in a crime story, but it becomes one of the film's emotional anchors. Bob takes the dog in, and through this simple act of kindness, we begin to see a different side of him. There's a gentleness there, a capacity for care that contrasts sharply with the harshness of the world around him. This is also where Nadia enters the story, a woman who lives nearby and becomes connected to Bob through the dog. Their relationship develops slowly, without grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's built on small interactions, quiet conversations, and a shared sense of loneliness. Both characters feel like outsiders in their own lives, and their connection offers a glimpse of something warmer, something human, in a narrative otherwise dominated by tension and suspicion. But the past, as the film repeatedly reminds us, never stays buried. The dog itself becomes a link to a man named Eric Deeds, a volatile and unpredictable figure who claims ownership of the animal. Eric is the kind of character who carries danger with him, not just in what he does, but in the way he exists. There's an instability to him that makes every interaction feel like it could turn violent at any moment. Through Eric, the story introduces another layer of conflict, one that is more personal and immediate. As the investigation into the robbery unfolds, the pressure on Bob and Marv begins to mount. Detectives start asking questions, probing into the operations of the bar and the people connected to it. There's a constant sense that the walls are closing in, that the truth is inching closer, even as everyone involved tries to keep their secrets intact. The film handles this aspect with restraint, avoiding over-the-top dramatics in favor of a more grounded, realistic portrayal of how these situations play out. What makes Bob such a fascinating character is how much of him remains hidden, even as the story progresses. He speaks little, reveals even less, and yet there's a sense that there's more beneath the surface than anyone realizes. The film plays with this ambiguity, allowing the audience to form their own interpretations of who Bob really is. Is he simply a quiet man trying to get by? Or is there something darker, more complex lurking beneath his calm exterior? Marv, on the other hand, becomes increasingly agitated as the situation spirals. His nostalgia for the past turns into something more desperate, almost self-destructive. He wants to prove that he still matters, that he still has control. But the reality is that the world has moved on without him. His actions begin to reflect this internal conflict, creating tension not just with the external forces of the criminal underworld, but within his own relationship with Bob. The brilliance of the film lies in how it weaves all these threads together without ever feeling forced. The crime plot, the personal relationships, and the underlying themes all intersect in ways that feel organic and inevitable. There's a slow-burning quality to the narrative, a sense that everything is building towards something, even if it's not immediately clear what that something is. As the story approaches its climax, the tension reaches a point where it can no longer remain contained. Secrets are revealed, loyalties are tested, and the true nature of the characters begins to emerge. It's in these moments that the film delivers its most powerful impact, not through spectacle, but through revelation. The quiet man at the center of the story is no longer just an observer. He becomes something else entirely, forcing both the characters and the audience to reevaluate everything that came before. There's a raw honesty in how the film portrays its world. It doesn't romanticize crime or glorify its characters. Instead, it presents a reality where choices have consequences, where survival often comes at a cost, and where the line between right and wrong is rarely clear. The people in this story are not heroes or villains in the traditional sense. They're individuals shaped by their circumstances, making decisions that reflect their fears, desires, and limitations. By the time the story reaches its conclusion, there's a sense of quiet resolution, but not necessarily comfort. The events that have unfolded leave a lasting impact, both on the characters and on the audience. It's the kind of ending that lingers, prompting reflection long after the film is over. What does it mean to be good in a world that rewards ruthlessness? Can someone truly escape their past, or does it always find a way to resurface? The Drop doesn't provide easy answers to these questions, and that's part of what makes it so compelling. It trusts the audience to engage with its themes, to sit with its ambiguity, and to draw their own conclusions. It's a film that values subtlety over spectacle, character over plot, and atmosphere over action. In the end, what stays with you is not just the story itself, but the feeling it creates. a quiet, persistent tension that reflects the world it portrays. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that unfold in silence, in the spaces between words, and in the moments that seem small but carry immense weight.